You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the CEO Leading In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of CEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the way strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights despite their sometimes rocky paths and found a way to lead in. So today we're here with Tara Shah, the CEO of T-School. So Tara, could you tell us what T-School is?
Well, thank you for having me on your show. Yes, T-School is a bar prep company. It is the bar examination you take to become a lawyer. We basically provide substantive law lectures and materials, skills-based workshops to help you pass your bar exam. But what really distinguishes T-School from some of the other larger commercial courses is that we focus not just on the mind, but also the body. I've realized through all my years of helping students pass the bar, which has been a very long time, that there's this mental component to it that can really impede people's ability to be successful on the exam. So I'm really the only course out there that also offers power meditation and yoga built in as study breaks into the overall course plan.
Okay, well, I have to say that's very unique. But the truth is, I mean, definitely when our minds are flowing, a lot of it is because we've had enough exercise. We're eating right. I wonder, does that come into it at all? Nutrition, talking a little bit about that. It all affects your brain.
It all affects it, but I think, it's not just unique to lawyers, but I do think that when law students first come out of law school, there's this period of time where their only job for 7 days a week, 10 hours a day for approximately 8 weeks, sometimes 10 weeks, is to prepare for this one exam. Yeah. And they feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. They feel like they have to pass because a lot of the jobs they get, especially if they're government lawyer positions, they feel like it's one and done. You have to pass or you lose that job. Or if I don't pass, even if I get to keep it, I'm not making that law firm salary. Bills start coming due every month. And it's just the stress. And it's not just that. It's having that chip on their shoulder if they don't pass, right? Yeah. What are their colleagues going to say? Am I going to let down my family? There's just all these external factors that affect how they feel. And so, some people can just go into it. They are like machines. I felt like that's how I was with my friends every day, 4 hours a day of lecture. Then we go to the library. We had our little study areas in the library. And at the end of the day, I would look up. I'm like, oh, is any of my friends going home? Like, it's not going to be me to go home first today, so I'll just sit here and do something else and start memorizing some rules or do another essay. But
So you try to make it a little bit fun?
I try to make it a little bit fun, but I also am aware of the fact that some people need some cheerleading. Some people need some reinforcement in their confidence. Some people need to get some more exercise, some more endorphins, a little bit more, like I said, confidence going into it, maybe a little bit of happiness. For me, luckily, I had a good support system because I had my friends. We felt like it was a journey we're going through, and nowadays it's tougher because people don't go to the library anymore for bar prep. It's all at home. They're learning from home.
So you're very driven. I could see that. So were you always this driven as a little girl? Do you have a fun little story to tell us about your childhood that can help us understand you more?
Well, I don't want to date myself at all, but there used to be this show. Yes, I was definitely very young when the show was out, called LA Law. And I used to watch that show thinking, wow, those people are so smart. And those women, I'm going to be like one of them for sure. And I wrote an essay, like second grade, and I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. I had tunnel vision. I mean, from that moment on, I was going to go to law school. I never even considered anything else, maybe to my detriment, in a way, but it also kept me very focused. I mean, to the point, even as a senior in high school, I had an executive internship at a law firm. In college, I worked at a law firm, and then I went to law school directly, and I was finished with law school, already a lawyer by the time I was, I think, 24.
Wow, that's wonderful.
24, 25, yeah.
Okay, well, so most people I don't think are like that. Were many of your friends in law school like that, or just were you one of the only ones?
I mean, some of my closest friends, it's like we've always thought about being a lawyer, but I think a lot of people, it's like you're not quite sure what you want to be, and then they consider it, but no, not a lot of them had tunnel vision. But it's interesting because my little sister, she's a doctor. And I think at one point she said to me, she's like, yeah, I became a doctor just to beat you out because you were a lawyer. I'm like, I'm glad I could inspire you in that way. But we were very close.
That is so funny. All right. So I have a question for you. One word that describes you. What is it?
Other than talkative?
Yeah.
I would say genuine.
Yeah. That's a good one because I think that it does. It comes out in your eyes and your face, and there's nothing like authenticity because otherwise, how would anyone ever get to know you? Because if they just see the shell, it's just not the same.
No,
it's just not the same. And honestly, in your profession, people need to know you. They need to get to know you. They need to trust you.
Trust is the core foundation of any good lawyer-client relationship. It's also the foundation, I think, of good friendships. But I have a hard time, I guess you could say, being close to people who are not authentic. I'm always doubting their motives.
Right.
So I feel like if I want people to trust me, I need to always be myself.
So how do you measure success?
That's a good question.
We're going to jump right in.
I mean, there's the obvious metrics, how much money you make. But I think there was a point where let me back up. I think sometimes you're like, okay, if I just make $10,000 more dollars or $20,000 or $50,000 or $100,000, I'm going to feel good about what I'm doing. Or if I buy that house or buy that car, you start picking things to be those measures. And then at some point you're like, I kind of have all the things that I want, and I still don't feel fulfilled. And there was a point in my life where I definitely felt that way, so I don't think measuring success is always based on the tangible metrics. Yeah. I think sometimes, at least for me, it's the tracks that I've left, the footprints that I've left in my life, how have I impacted other people. That sounds a bit cheesy, but I mean, I get phone calls sometimes or emails from people that I've, used to be a client, or people who, even when I got into bar prep, former students from like 15 years ago, they're like, oh my gosh, let me just tell you the impact you had on me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it's like you're so moved, and I don't even have words other than thank you, but I want to say something that sounds better than that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's an ever-evolving definition of success, but I have learned over the years, well, yes, tangible things are nice. It's not always the metric that I like to be guided by.
I totally agree with you because whenever I talk to like a group of young people, I've actually had parents send me an email and say, you know what, you spoke to my daughter, you spoke to my son, and then they repeated what I told them, and then they said, I think I could do that. And that is the best thing, because when you're inspiring others to find out what their potential is and to try to work toward that,
yeah, that's
really exciting. And yeah, that's not a money thing.
Right.
But again, back to your tracks, I like the way you put that. It really is, it's important in life because, it's not all about money. Money's important. Sure, we all need it. But honestly, fulfillment and knowing that you're making a difference is something I always look back and I go, well, am I making a difference? And, I was having this conversation with my 22-year-old daughter, and I said to her, I go, what would you want someone to say at your funeral? And she's like, gee, Mom, I'm only 22. I'm like, I know. But what would you want someone to say at your funeral? Because for me, I would want it to be all about the ways that I helped people and the things that I did that inspired them to be their best version of themselves. And she said, that's interesting. So, you have these conversations with people, I think it's cool that you think about that, because a lot of people don't really take the time.
I think I've thought about it a lot over the more recent years as well, my impact, just because, I'm not a mother. I have nephews who I love more than life itself. I have my friends' children who they know I adore and love as well. I guess not having that, always struggling to find purpose. What have I done? I mean, if I leave this world, if I left it better, have I, not necessarily like a legacy for vanity purposes, but have I made it better? So always trying to find purpose in that, I think, has helped me to, I guess, feel a little bit better about why I'm here, what I'm doing.
Make no mistake of it, Tara. We women, we mother in all ways, whether there are biological kids or not. We mother in all ways. Everyone around us. It's just our way. So don't even mention that, because truly you've mothered, I'm sure, many. So have you failed at anything?
Oh gosh, lots of things.
Yeah. I think that's an important part of the conversation, though. A lot of people think outwardly, maybe you're very successful, but then maybe you've never failed. I would say a lot of us have failed miserably. Is there anything you'd like to share with us on that?
Well, I've never failed academically. That sort of always came natural. But yeah, no, I mean, I've failed, at a lot of things. It's just, I can't pinpoint one specific thing that would be worse than the other, but I don't know. I think in my definition, failure has been I set myself up to achieve a certain thing and I don't get there and I let my own self down. And that has really been the greatest failure. I know one time, I think I had a teacher one time, I don't even remember what grade it was in. And I think I rebelled a little bit because she expected it sounds so dorky, model UN. I was like, junior high, and I think I let her down and I walked by and she said something like how I had disappointed her. And it felt like someone had punched me in the gut, because I'm like, I felt like a big failure at that moment. But I feel like a failure a lot just even business, like I'm trying to make my new company work. And you're talking about how do you judge success? And right now I'm like, well, have I achieved these milestones that you can pick? I don't know. I feel like, is my life exactly where I want it to be? I don't know. It's always this evolving journey.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have an amazing example, but yes, I have failed many, 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 many times. Trust me.
Well, I think failure is something that comes with not being able to control everything. Which is impossible to control everything.
It is.
I always tell people, I have figured out that I control nothing but myself and how I react to situations. And I think even during COVID and the pandemic has really brought to surface a lot of things where you go, okay, well, I can't control that. I mean, I have become more of a go with the flow kind of girl. I used to like to try to control things. And then I'm like, well, that's just never going to happen. I'm never going to control one more thing except for me. And so I think failure is a very, it's a vital part of growing also. And you just can't escape it.
But I think that being able to let go, not feel you have to control is pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the greatest release. Like you feel you feel like this weight's lifted off your shoulders, but I am the worst at it. I'm always wanting to be in control of something, not even consciously on a massive subconscious level.
Well, that's because you're driven, but that's just how you are. And we all have our bend towards certain things. You just go, okay, I'll do better next time, because I have things too that I'm terrible at, wildly terrible at. And then I go, well, I'll try better the next time, and maybe I'll do better, maybe I won't. I don't know. Anyway, letting things go is very important. So balancing work and life. How are you at that? Do you have any nuggets of wisdom on that?
I think I do, actually. I have mastered the art of successfully integrating work and travel at the same time. I love traveling. So a lot of my friends are like, hey, I'm going to go, on this trip for 3-4 days. Can you come? Everyone always calls me. They know I can try and make it happen. Most of the year I can, not some parts of the year. But I'm like, yeah. But then they get super annoyed with me because I'm just going to work 3 hours this morning while you're doing this or that. And then the rest of the day I'm with you. But I really have found a way to I mean, I don't separate work from fun. I kind of do them at the same time, just because when you have your own business and you do your own thing, it's kind of hard to keep them separate anyway. And I know people really strongly like, oh, you definitely need to keep it separate. I'm like, actually, no, because I really enjoy my life the way it is. I manage to see the people I love, travel to the places that are beautiful that I want to see, but I'm still working. So for me, I felt like blending them worked for me, but it may not work for everyone else.
Right. Well, and that's an important part. You know, everyone has things they're really quite good at. Not everyone's good at multitasking because it requires a lot of multitasking
It does.
to do both. Yeah.
It does.
So as a female leader, what has been your most significant barrier?
Honestly, going back to that need to control. I mean, I always felt like if you want it done right, do it yourself. I have a hard time delegating. And I do listen to other people, but then I spend a lot of time researching, how much importance should I put in that person's opinion? And who's the peanut gallery? Just giving me their thoughts. But it is hard letting go of control, listening to others who really probably are more educated in a particular topic or issue or whatever it may be or decision I'm about to make. So I feel like that really has always been the hardest thing for me is delegating and trusting others that they're going to do the work just as you would do it.
So you're probably like me. I have a very difficult time asking for help.
Yes.
Even when I'm feeling completely overwhelmed, I'm like, oh gosh, I need help. And then I'm like, no, can I do it? I've actually been forcing myself recently.
It's hard.
It is. It really, it is quite hard, especially when, again, can I depend on them? Are they going to do it? And then if they let you down, you're kind of going, oh, but you know what? The good thing is I always tell this to people. Guess what? I'm never going to be perfect. So I'm never going to expect you to be perfect. And, sometimes things just don't go the way that you plan.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
life.
good advice. I
It's
mean, really,
life.
it is hard to let go.
It is. It is. So when you're leading men, do you experience resistance?
I have, but I can't be quite persuasive when I want to be. I try and present. If I feel like there's going to be resistance before I start, I already plan my multiple layered levels of arguments, right? Trying to present it in a way where how could they say no? But I try to anticipate the resistance, but oh yeah, no, I definitely. But sometimes when it comes to dealing with men, you have to flip it around rather than making it seem like I'm trying to tell them what to do or I'm trying to persuade them to do something. I make them think that they want to do it. Like they offer it up as something. I'm like, oh, you want to do that? Great. Or that's a great idea. Yeah. And I feel like that's been a better process for me if I know I'm going to be dealing with some very strong men.
Yeah, definitely.
With strong personalities, perhaps, ones that are more leaders themselves.
So let's talk role models.
Okay.
Do you have any role models in your current career or people that you can point back to and say, they really helped me with this or that in your career?
Do you mean role models as in like ones I personally know or just people that have influenced me like RBG, for example? People like that or people that I know?
People that you know, I think, that have really helped mold you. People that maybe you asked advice. I mean, but there are people that are outside that definitely.
Oh, yes.
You might look at them and go, I like that, or, oh gosh, I never want to do that.
No, right.
I think
No,
both
for sure.
ways. Yeah.
I mean, other than Wonder Woman, Princess Leia, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, just the way she thinks is incredible, right?
Yeah.
Those types of role models. I would think, I've had a lot of people actually in my life that have cared for me and helped, really helped me make decisions. One of them is my mentor. One of my mentors is Karen Bergman Remus. In fact, she has a day named after her in the city of San Diego. So she means a lot to a lot of people. But she definitely helped me when I was, in law school and out after law school. Pretty much every job I've ever taken or professional decision, I think I've had a conversation with her about it. Because she presents a very objective, she'll present both sides.
Yeah.
Like, well, if you do this is what's going to happen. If you do this is the possibilities. And she's really helped me. And I've also admired the choices that she has made. She's more bold and she says what she means what she says. She's all business a lot of times, but she's very personal. And I feel like she has been someone that I've always looked up to. my little sister, even though she's my little sister, as we've gotten older, I mean, I've always admired her tenacity. I mean, it's been scrappy for her, like when she was little, she was 4 years younger than me, and she was always, living in my shadow, and finally, as we're gotten to be adults, I mean, I am in total awe of her. I mean, I don't even know when she sleeps, to be honest, One of my other some of my close friends have become people that I really look up to. Like one of my friends, another lawyer, Arceli, and her sister Annette. I definitely look up to them. And my mom and I have a great relationship. We're very, very close. And I have looked back in my life, and she definitely led a life in a male-dominated profession. She was in the car business, and she sometimes was like the only woman with this particular position, or she would be managing a lot of men. And it's like when you meet her, you would never think, oh, this woman, this personality could be in charge of a bunch of men. And she really has been, in that sense. I've admired her for her ability to do that, So yeah, I've been very lucky to have a lot of people in different aspects of my life. And honestly, probably one of the biggest people is my dad. I would say every major decision I've ever made, I think I have run by him as well. But more importantly, when I have felt so much pressure and stress. I felt like I was a failure. Those moments where I wanted to crack, like maybe just have a good crying session. My dad is like Yoda. Like the advice that he has, you're just like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. So I feel like I've had different role models and people give me good advice in different areas along my life, and I've been very fortunate for that.
Well, that's great. So you've probably learned some lessons along the way, which is kind of what, my next question, lessons learned that other women can learn and apply to their lives.
Yeah, I would say this one sounds a bit cheeky, but, life is a journey. Work hard, but enjoy the ride too. Don't let it pass you by. Don't spend every day in a windowless office. Get out there, enjoy the fruits of your labor. You've earned it. You deserve it. You don't always have to be doing the grind the whole time, right? Enjoy part of it. I would also say, and this I know is probably cliche, you hear it all the time, but I mean it. Love what you do. So a lot of people get scared to go from a job that they know, they're comfortable with, that makes good money, pays the bills, but they're unfulfilled, they're not happy. And they are very scared to go from that job to another. They're like, I'm going to have to start all over again. If I change professions, a different industry, different area, I'm going to have to start at the bottom, making not a lot of money and having people above me, too many levels of bosses, And I'm like, no. You're looking at this from a different perspective. Think about the things you know. Think about the things you love, what you're able to do. Take the skills that you already have, those transferable skills, whether it's your knowledge, your education, your experience in the workplace. Just even like people gain a lot of experience. I know a lot of my friends who are parents basically can be event organizers at this point because they're in charge of PTA this and PTA that, right? I mean, you collect these skills throughout your life, but take those transferable skills and take a leap of faith in yourself and start a business or try a new job, but you don't have to start at the bottom. Right. Recognize what you can do, what you love to do, and go do something else that you love, because it's not worth it to be so unhappy just sitting in your office doing what's comfortable. Go do what you love.
I like your analogy of don't sit in a windowless office. That really just kind of breaks it down. And, we do live in a beautiful place, but it's true. And a lot of people, and I'm not saying just women, but a lot of people let fear keep them in that little windowless office because they are afraid to step out.
Yes.
And they look around, they go, oh, no, here's a reason I can't. Here's a reason I can't. Well, they have to, like you said, believe in yourself. Here is the reason why you can.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of them. And generally, if you do, I love that you actually seem to really talk to a few different people. Here's a big thing that's happening with me right now. And what should I do? What do you think about this? And your dad, Yoda, God love him. Having someone wise that has been through a lot of things and has a lot of experience, I think that's one of the things that, and one of the goals of this podcast is to have wisdom shared. And sometimes that wisdom comes from people that you don't expect. Your younger sister. It really, I mean, honestly, just talking, bouncing things off of people, that's what I would say. I'm going to bounce this off of you. I want to hear what your thoughts are on this. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that in itself, because if you're just kind of living in that one little silo and you don't talk to people outside of your everyday life, you're not going to, you're going to be really kind of confined in that space. Opening that space up and talking to other people. Your dad, for instance, you probably don't talk to your dad every day, but you may. Some people don't talk to their parent every single day. But having, that feedback is, I think, pretty valuable because it's from someone that's very different than you. He's a man. It's your dad. He probably wants you to be successful, not just because you're his daughter, but because you're very driven and he wants to see you thrive. So anyway, those are just my thoughts on that.
Well, thank you.
But really, I love a lot what you shared there. So if you think about what you're most passionate about, because yes, you're a lawyer, but you're actually helping people with passing the bar exam. What are you most passionate about that, and what led you to that path? Because that's kind of an interesting shift.
It is. So funny thing is, there was this test. I think they still have it now. I forgot the name of the test. I think I took it in high school my senior year, and it kind of tells you based on your personality. I forgot the name of that test.
Yeah, there are many different iterations.
This one's got 500 questions. Yeah. It was like an all-day thing, and then they tell you what you're most suited for. And I told you earlier, I already had this tunnel vision. I was going to be a lawyer. This thing comes back saying you're most suited based on your personality and skills to be a teacher. I'm like, I am not going to be a teacher. I'm like, I'm going to be a successful lawyer. Hello. Has anyone not read my essay from second grade? Wow. And I was almost kind of like wanted to be defiant. I was angered by it in a way, And I didn't really realize that I liked helping others in that way, teaching, until I was in law school. I believe I was a third-year law student, and they were looking to hire someone to be what they call large group tutors. So basically, you help the class, one of the first-year classes. And they hired me to be a real property tutor. So there's 2 classes, and each class had about 150 students in each class, maybe a little bit less, something around that, right? So it's between the 2 classes, a lot of people. And I remember thinking maybe they were like, maybe 10 people will show up, and, you just kind of help them, and you're going to need to know the syllabus. And I did really well in real property in school. So I felt, I'm like, okay. The first day, it was like 10, 20 people, right? And I showed up with handouts that I made a couple of days before, and I helped outline the cases and made like these flow charts, And then I guess word got out, like, oh, she's got all these handouts for us, right? And like she really broke it down. And then the next time I had it, because it was two days a week, there was literally over 100 people that showed up. I was like, oh my gosh, like what? Who are all of you? They're like, oh, we're from the class. We heard you have got handouts, that you broke it down really well. And I did that for the whole semester. And I'm like, wow, this is like a feeling I kind of never expected to have, like this warm feeling on the inside. You're like, wow, they really needed my help. They liked my help. And I actually liked being helpful and teaching them. And I'm like, okay, this is great. And then while I was working at a law firm, one of my mentors, Karen Bergman-Remus, she's like, there's an opportunity to be a tutor and, as an independent contractor. And I'm like, oh, I want to be extra while I was working at a law firm. So I started doing that. And I'm like, wow, it is kind of fulfilling. I enjoyed this. And then the opportunity came up to work for this other bar prep company full time. And I'm like, I actually really liked it. And then I got lucky one day because probably early on, one of the main bar prep instructors, these were classes of like 500 people back in the day, right? And something happened. He was sick. He couldn't make some of the lectures, that particular bar prep course. They're like, all right, you're in. I'm like, what? I'm like, not ready. They're like, this is your chance. I know you can do it. And my old boss, by the way, he also is someone I look up to, gentleman named Brian Sachs, because he was always believed in me. Talk about someone who never doubted me. That was probably one of the best feelings. So I've always emulated that when I try to manage someone or be a boss, is make them feel as if they can do it. But he's like, you can do it. Just get out there. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I wrote up the lecture. I wrote it up again. I went to the location and late at night, and I asked if I could go in there and just do the lecture with, by myself. And I think I wanted to vomit that morning. I did it. And at the end, it's like the minute I was in it, it was like all of a sudden something took over and everyone's staring at me. And I'm like, but just words are coming out. And I'm like, I just did it. I just lectured for 4 hours and no one is saying, no one is complaining. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yep, in this business, no complaints is a good day. I'm like, oh, okay, no news is good news. But from that moment on, I just loved it. So I really got into it, and I found it to continue to be rewarding, although sometimes frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. But
that is fascinating because you were literally voluntold you were doing something and you literally fell into it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story and very inspiring because I there are many times where you're gonna, you get thrown into a situation, you're like, I can't do it. But you know what? When you got in there, you had that gift.
Well, I will say this, though. I mean, there are moments in your life where you're questioning, do I still have that love or that passion? And there was a moment where I was saying earlier, I'm like, one day I just sat there and I said, I do not love what I'm doing anymore. And it wasn't the work I was doing. It was more or less the people I was working for. There was a company change. Someone else bought the company. And I'm like, I don't love it. And I'm too experienced, too knowledgeable, too educated to have to do this. I think I can change. And I did not just make any change. I decided to go on a eat, pray, love trip. Enjoy the fruits of my labor, some of the money in my bank. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm gonna move abroad. I'm gonna try something that I've kind of wanted to do as something fun, but just go see what it's like. And if I get a job, I'll keep working. And I didn't think I'd be in bar prep again, but bar prep just continue to follow me even when I was living overseas in Asia.
Wow. People
are like, oh, could you do this project for us? You don't need to be here. And so it just kept coming back. And I'm like, it wasn't the work I didn't love. It was at that point that, the company, the people, the environment, I guess you could say at that point, just for that 1 year. So when I moved back, I just went full force back into it. So it is what I love, but it took a moment to take a step back to remind me how much I did appreciate it.
And you have a gift. Clearly, you're very passionate about it. Okay, so Tara, you walk into a room.
Okay.
You've got all these female leaders. What's your advice to them?
Oh, my advice to female leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget your former self. Maybe don't forget what it took to get here. And tell us your story, including what your failures were.
Yeah, I think that's really important. It's good advice. Okay. Well, Tara, it's been a real joy talking to you today and finding out more about your journey. And you are a very passionate person. You obviously love what you're doing. And you know what? You should definitely find what your next bit's going to be because I bet it's going to be pretty fun.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. This has been fun. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.